Welcome to the Ad Nauseam podcast, where classical gourmands everywhere can finally get their fill. Join us for a delectable discussion of Greco-Roman civilization stretching from the Minoans and Mycenaeans through the Renaissance and right down to the present. And now, ladies and gentlemen, here are your hosts, Dr. David Noe and Dr. Jeff Winkle.
Welcome, listeners, to episode 87. This is the podcast. And Jeff, how are you this evening?
I'm feeling really good this evening, Dave.
Really good,
really
you
good.
say?
Yep, I had a good day. I got lots of exercise. Got to spend some time at the pool under the in the sunshine. It's been great.
The swimming pool, the cesspool. What kind of pool was it?
The swimming pool. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, not the cesspool.
All right, I just had to ask.
Exactly. That's now.
You know how. You know how I am with my precision.
Yes.
Did you? I don't know what's the phrase we want. You didn't trip the light fantastic, cut the rug, scrape the bottom. Did you do something in the pool?
Just some phrase for swimming here?
I think there ought to be.
I swam. I dived. I went down the curlicue water slide. It was very nice.
He swam. He dived. He curlicued. Were you by yourself?
No, I was with my whole family.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a very nice kind of public pool, not too far from our house. It's
nice.
Great. Yeah.
All
but
right.
now the storms are brewing out there.
The storm is a brewing, but they're calling for really hot temperatures both tomorrow and the tomorrow of tomorrow.
Tomorrow and the next day.
Yes, it's going to be 95 and 97.
Oh, that doesn't sound too pleasant.
That's hot.
That's very
Maybe
hot.
we should just stay inside and podcast.
I agree.
Okay.
It's very comfortable down here in the vomitorium.
It's Vomitorium East, situated next to the lovely Swan Lake.
Yep. And you're doing well?
I'm okay.
You're okay?
I'm feeling a little punchy.
Yeah, I can tell that.
Yeah, you can tell.
I'm feeling the vibes.
Are
yeah.
you? Okay.
Yep. Well, why don't we start with our shout out this evening?
Let's do that.
Okay. Who do we got?
Well, this goes to one Johannette Jacobs.
Oh, Johannette.
Yeah, Johannette. And this is the daughter of Jaap Jacobs.
Yes, who I believe has received a shout out.
He also got his shout out.
Yep.
This lovely young woman is 16. And according to her father, who put this forward for her, when we talked about the storms being unleashed to stop Aeneas' progress, Johannette immediately remarked on the similarity with Homer.
There's a sharp young lady right there.
Yes, an astute listener. She knows her classics. That's really impressive.
That's fantastic.
And I understand she's studying Latin and takes Latin at school and is doing very well.
Excellent.
We're glad to hear that.
And she's over in Scotland?
She's in Scotland.
Yep.
And I believe we have tried some fake Scotland accents before.
Yeah.
And we got a lot of
we got taken to task.
Grief and criticism.
Yeah.
Should we care about that?
I can tell by just the way you're looking at me, you want to double down.
That's right. No. I told you my Scotland horror story, right?
The one where you were fogged in Edinburgh?
No. That's every time I go. But this was the first time I went in 1997.
Okay.
And I stopped off with Mrs. Noe. This was pre-children at the little gift shop. Was it 99? Sorry, January 99.
Yeah.
The little gift shop next to the castle, the Edinburgh Castle.
Yeah, sure, right.
And just trying to be friendly and strike up a conversation with the clerk as I was buying my obligatory woolen scarf.
Yes.
I said, "So, do you live here in Edinburgh?" Knowing that Scotland is a large place and people do commute to their place of work.
Of course.
And he said, "No, I live in Arizona and I commute from there." Ouch.
Oh, really?
Yes, that's what he said.
Man, just that jagged sarcasm?
I can see his face now.
Oh, my goodness.
And this is what? Are we going on 30 years? This is a solid 23 years later.
Wow.
And it still stings.
Man, it still hurts.
Yeah,
really?
that'll teach me to try to be friendly to a Squat.
So did you just take the scarf and just kind of...
I paid for the scarf. I wanted to just take it, but I paid for it.
And you slunk out?
And I slunked.
There was slunking?
We slunked right out of there because where's that guy get off?
That seems like an unnecessary harshness.
I think he was really, really bored.
I can imagine
because this is a gift shop, A.
Yeah.
And number two, it's January, so it isn't the prime season.
Right.
So what's he got to do? Right. Just stand around and insult the customers. I guess.
I guess so.
Yeah.
Oh,
so back to Johannette.
Yes, please. Yeah. So she's taking Latin. She's doing great.
Yep. Took a little bit of paternal persuasion to get her to start learning Latin. Every time her father explains English or Dutch words by pointing out the Latin etymology. Do dads do that?
I can see you doing that.
I do it all the time.
Yeah.
About 4 or 5 times today.
Yeah.
She adopts a Scottish accent in retaliation. Oh, I love to hear that.
This is great.
Yeah. And bilingual in English and Dutch.
Yeah, that's impressive.
Yes. And I'd like to say something about the name Johannette, if I may.
Please.
What a beautiful name.
Yeah.
Back in your day and my day when we were growing up and being named, there were a lot of monosyllable names, right? You didn't have your Masons and your Ethans and your Logans and your Aidens and your Elliots and so on.
Right.
It was Joe and Jim and Bob and
Phil.
Yeah, funny to say. Dave and Jeff. And Jert. Jub.
Yeah. Bort.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But now there are much more, and so I'm kind of inclined to that. But in later years, I've gotten a little more made peace with the unique names that are coming out a lot.
You're okay with it?
Yes, and I especially like this one, Johannette. Isn't that pretty?
That's beautiful. I don't believe I've encountered it before.
I don't think I have. It's a feminine form of Johann or John, right?
Yep.
Very nice. So thank you, Johannette, both for your beautiful name, your bilinguality, for your catching of the Homeric references, and listening to our podcast.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah, if we ever come to Scotland, I'll see if I can buy a scarf.
And hope it goes much better.
Yeah, so Jeff, what are we giving the people tonight?
Well, we're going to continue our look into Book 2. As always, I have no idea how far we're going to get.
3-4 lines, probably.
Right. So we're going to do our best to wrap up our look at Book 2 and maybe get into Book 3, but not so sure. So we've got to get Aeneas out of that burning city. We've got to get him in this ragtag bunch of Trojans in a boat and onto their destiny.
Yes.
Yeah.
A number of misadventures, which will be flashback. Mm-hmm. But then we're going to go through Book 3 and land in Book 4.
And Book 4 will take us back to the present time.
That's correct.
Where Aeneas is with Dido in Carthage.
That's right.
Yeah, but who knows? Who knows when we'll get there?
I don't know. What is it? It's June of 22, right?
Yeah, it is June of 22.
So we've got some time.
We got some time. Yeah. We're okay. Yeah.
All right, so we got an opening quote here, and are you going to read this one? Do I get to read this?
Why don't I read it? I read this article earlier this morning.
Since you found it and know its content?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes. But this is a really interesting article by one David Quint. This goes back to 1982 from Classical Journal.
Okay.
And it's called Painful Memories, Aeneid Book 3, and the Problem of the Past.
I think this is the same David Quint who wrote Epic and Empire.
Oh, is it really?
We have cited on this podcast previously.
Okay, I didn't make that connection.
Yeah, I think so. So this guy knows what he's doing. So,
right.
So good catch there, Jeff. Let's hear it.
So just to kind of set up this quote, because I'm kind of jumping in medias. The article is about the Trojans, the difficulty that they have on their way from Troy to Italy. And one of the difficulties they have is not just these monsters and plagues and famines they encounter. It's their inability to kind of let go of their Trojanness.
To let go of their past?
To let go of their past, right? And their identity as Trojans.
Okay.
Where everything is kind of pushing them from no longer being Trojans, but becoming these proto-Romans.
I see.
And so there's he's making the argument that they have to let so much of their self-identity behind.
I see.
Right? And so it's not just a new Troy in the West; it's something completely different.
Right.
And that's really difficult for them. Yeah, and he frames this that one of the most important transitions that Aeneas himself has to make is away from his father.
Oh yeah.
And it's almost this necessity of his father having to die for Aeneas to really start to kind of embrace these new things.
Interesting. Yeah. I was reading an article in the paper this past week about a lot of universities and colleges and other institutions, both in Canada and the U.S. Maybe our listeners are even familiar with this, listing that they are operating on land that supposedly belonged to indigenous peoples.
Yeah.
You know this movement.
Yeah.
Right. It's called decolonization.
Right.
Right. And it strikes me then that the Trojans have to decolonize themselves.
They do.
They have to jettison an entire cultural identity.
They do.
And substitute for it a culture that hasn't really developed yet.
That's right. Right.
That's a big challenge.
Exactly. I mean, in some ways, it's not. It's and we'll see this. It's not the cleanest of breaks. I mean, there are these stories and traditions that early Trojan ancestors came from Italy, so
Right.
there is a kind of full circle here. But what Quint is arguing, and I think he's very persuasive, says that they really have to kind of let go of their core identity as Trojans in the present to find their way to this destiny.
Was there one especially poignant or bitter memory of the past of which they had to let go? Like an insult they received in a gift shop or something?
Not so quite. It wasn't quite so much. I mean, in Quint's argument, it wasn't so much kind of a bitter memory. It's what I took it as kind of his main idea is that they're so traumatized by what they've just lost that anything that kind of just just in the smallest way resembles what the city that they lost, the traditions that they lost, they will jump on it. And so as we'll see, when the first stop that they make, Aeneas just starts building a new city.
Right.
And it's like, this is it.
Yes.
They're basically, they took down 2 exits off the highway from Troy. It's, okay, new city.
Right.
They're so desperate to kind of, to recapture what they lost or find a way to mourn what they lost. And fate just says, no, you have to keep going.
Right. It's like when you're on a family road trip, right? And as soon as you leave home, the question, emerges from the back seat. Right?
Almost immediately.
Yes. Are we there yet?
Are we there yet?
No, we're still in our own driveway. So this is all of Aeneas's men.
Yes, exactly. Right. So let me read this.
We should probably give the people the quote.
We should, right. So as evidence of this, Quint writes, the oracle at Delos appears to be a dead giveaway. After having been addressed as Dardanidae Duri, only a willful interpreter would not instruct the Trojans to seek out the birthplace of Dardanus. Anchises' mistake is particularly glaring and thus demands the reader's close attention. Perhaps swayed by the injunction to seek out his ancient motherland, antiquam exquirite matrem, Anchises' thoughts about Crete turned to the cult of Cybele, imported from that island to Troy. His associations of ideas thus parallels the first error which the Trojans commit in Book 3, the choice of Thrace for the site of their new city, a choice which seems to be influenced by the sociique penates of the Thracians. In both cases, the Trojans are reassured by religious rites in the alien lands, which are identical to their own. In the episode of Thrace, Virgil reinforces this identity with a replication in the verse itself, and so on and so on and so on. So everywhere they go, the language that they use, the words that they hear are words that remind them of their past.
I see.
And they take that as kind of an invitation to stay.
And these are each of the false foundings that we'll find in Book 3.
Right. So they bounce from place to place, from Thrace to Delos to Crete, to the Strophides.
Right.
And in each place, they're kind of so eager just to kind of start carving up the land and building walls and making laws. And in each case, something quite horrible or unsettling happens, which tells them, move on.
Don't they stop off at Actium as well?
I believe they do stop at
do.
Actium. Well, that's a great way for Virgil to tie in recent Roman history, right?
Yes, Augustus and the guy who cuts the checks.
Yes, exactly right.
So that's what we're going to give the people tonight?
Maybe, if we get to Book 3.
All right.
But we've got some business to finish up in Book 2.
Yeah, right? And I like the way that you read that Latin there, Jeff. I take it you are a veteran Latin student and instructor yourself.
I have. I've been away from teaching the language for many years. I miss it very, very much.
I know.
But that's one of the things I love about doing this podcast is it brings me right back into it.
Right.
Yeah. So Dave.
Yes.
If people listening to the podcast would like to learn some Latin and read some Latin and translate some Latin, what would be the best way for them to do that?
Well, I can modestly say that this is the best way. No, maybe it's not the best, but this is a very good way, I'm confident. They should go to latinperdiem.com/LLPSI. The LLPSI stands for Lingua Latina Per Se Illustrata, that fabulous textbook written by Hans Orberg and published by our publisher, our sponsor.
Hackett Publishing.
That's correct. And Unit 1, you can log on and check out Unit 1. So this is, I think I'm up to 22 instructional videos now with a live audience and numerous office hours. And I got recordings of the texts, the chapters, quizzes, assignments, the whole thing. So like the Moss program, it's self-paced, expert, and accessible. And I meet with students each week and answer all of their Latin questions.
That's fantastic. So latinperdiem.com/LLPSI.
Yes, it's $199. I think it's a really good value.
Fantastic. All right, so let's get back into Book 2 here. I think when we left our audience in the previous episode, that the city was burning and collapsing, the Trojans were being slaughtered, and the Greeks they had charged the citadel. Priam had been killed at the altar of Minerva. And Aeneas he's frozen in indecision. He doesn't know what to do. Should he go to some kind of noble suicide, going down with the ship, or should he flee the city?
So this is where we play that Bon Jovi song that you probably loved.
Which one?
Blaze of Glory.
Oh, that's a terrible song.
I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah.
How could our musical tastes be so different?
Shut down Yeah,
That's
that
a
one-
great song.
That's a terrible song.
What's so bad about it?
Well, you know the story behind that song.
No.
Right? So the more famous Bon Jovi song, Wanted Dead or Alive.
I like
right?
that one.
Well, they were making this movie, Young Guns.
Do you like Wanted Dead or Alive?
I've heard it too many times. It's okay.
Okay.
It's okay. I liked it back in the day, but I don't need to hear it again.
It gets a 1 star from Jeff.
No, I wouldn't
Okay,
say that.
Winkle.
Okay. So the producers of Young Guns, this film about Billy the Kid and
Right.
the Regulators, they went to Bon Jovi and they said, "Hey, can we use that song Wanted Dead or Alive?"
Right.
Because it's it's got that kind of that twangy cowboy feel to it.
Yes, and
Bon
it's aggressive musically.
Yes. And Bon Jovi says that's fine, except it's about touring, right? On a steel horse I ride. Is that really what you want? And then they said, well, could you write us a song in that same vein that's more about cowboy stuff?
Nice.
And John said, I'll do that. And so it's
For free, probably.
Oh, of course. No, yes, exactly. No money was exchanged.
So,
right?
well, where's the unhappy ending here?
Well, it's he's ripping off himself to kind of kowtow to this stupid movie. So the whole story just kind of cheapened it for me.
Really?
Right. And so,
what about when we do a clip show?
Yeah.
Aren't we going to be ripping off ourselves?
of course, and it's going to be so craven. Right. So when I hear that song, I just hear, oh, it's just a poor man's version of that much better song.
Huh.
Right. So
Okay.
Yeah.
I still like it.
okay, that's
But
fine.
we know
That's
I
fine.
have. Maybe this is why you know so much more about pop culture than I do.
Why is that?
Because when it comes to pop culture, I have no taste.
Or you don't obsessively read about the backstories behind this stuff.
There you go.
There you go. Yeah.
So back to book 2.
Yes.
The encounter with Helen is where we are.
Yes, and I think this is so interesting. So as Aeneas is really strikingly, as we observed last time, he's kind of this weird passive observer of this stuff going on. He kind of stands there while Priam is killed, and he's kind of wandering around. He sees Helen in many ways the source of the origin story of all of this.
She's
stuff.
the catalyst.
And she's crouching by
Right.
an altar of Vesta there, and he thinks to himself, "What should I do?" And he's so angry that his first thought is, "I should take my sword and kill her."
Yes.
Right. But Dave, I'm wondering if you could read some Latin.
I would love to.
Yes.
So starting out in, what is it, line 567?
Yeah.
Okay. Iam quadeo superu nuseram cum limina vestae, servan tet tacitam se cretin seda latentem, tindarida spicio dunt clar rincendia lucem, erdranti passim quacolos percunctiferenti, illa sabin festose versab purgama tucros, et dana poi net deserti conjugas irdras prae metuanes Troiet patriae communis erinis, abdidera se sat quadrisin visas adebat, ex arse regnes animo subit irdra cadentem, ucisci patriet scelardratas sumera poinas.
Excellent. Wonderfully done.
Thank you. It's
Love it.
beautiful. Such beautiful language.
It
and,
is.
Oh, loaded with elisions. Those of you who read Latin poetry, you'll have heard all of those elisions in there.
Yeah.
Where the end of one word and the beginning of the next are pronounced together because of the combinations of vowels and such. But it makes for rapidity.
Yes, exactly. It moves things along. It just gives it
Fast.
such a different feel to it. I love it.
Right.
So here's Lombardo's wonderful translation. The more I read his translation, the more I wish that was my first encounter with the translation.
Oh, you're just saying that because of Hackett.
I'm not saying that.
I know you're not.
I really, really like it. I think this
Instead
is
of some of the others that we could mention.
right. Yeah. In fact, I think this is a superior translation to his own Iliad and Odyssey.
Huh.
He just did a marvelous job with this.
Wow.
I'm sucked in. But here are his translation of those lines. Now I alone was left, when I saw, hiding in the shadows of Vesta's shrine, Helen, daughter of Tyndareus. The bright fires gave me light as I wandered here and there, casting my eyes over everything, fearing the Trojans' anger for Troy's fall, the vengeance of the Greeks, and the wrath of her deserted husband, Helen, destroyer alike of her own country and ours, this detestable woman, crouched by the altars. My soul flared with a burning desire to avenge Troy and make her pay for her sins. And I thought this is so interesting. This is such a different Helen that we see, back home in Sparta in the Odyssey, where she's really kind of running the show. She's spiking. You remember she's spiking Menelaus' drink with some kind of magic potion to kind of dull his senses.
The pharmaca.
Yeah, and she tells the story. No, she was out there mimicking voices. She was in kind of command of the situation. And here we have her just completely abandoned and lost. It's such a haunting image.
Do you think that, obviously it's speculative, but and no doubt a paper has been written on it, or maybe even a book, that Virgil is deliberately undoing the Homeric portrayal from Odyssey 4? Because in Odyssey 4, as you just described so nicely, in the home of Menelaus in Sparta, she is saying, no, I was really actually doing something good. I was there. I was helping. I was on the good side.
Right.
And now it's the complete opposite portrayal.
No, I think that there's something to that. I think Virgil's saying that this is what really went down. And then Helen, but using her pharmaca on her husband, she's freer to kind of construct this false identity and really say, no, I was on your guys' side the whole time, right? But I think this is interesting that I don't think Virgil, like Homer, doesn't just throw anything in there for the sake of throwing it in. No. So he tells us that Helen is crouching at Vesta's shrine, and for the Romans, the Vesta as the goddess that keeps the home fires of the empire burning,
right?
Like Minerva, like Diana, associated with virginity,
right?
And just the irony of Helen, who's
known for her promiscuity,
right? Exactly. Her sexual crimes kind of started this whole thing,
right?
The irony of her crouching at Vesta's shrine,
the last place where she's going to get pity, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's the contrast, and yet she does. Because why? Why doesn't Aeneas run her through? Because he desperately wants to, right? What does he say? My soul flared with the burning desire, exarce rignes animo. That's very nice.
Yes. Well, I think this is a recurring theme throughout the Aeneid, is that I know that one of the criticisms of the character of Aeneas is that he's passive, right, as we've seen, right? He's not a go-getter, right? But I think a big reason for that is that fate and Venus they show up and they basically tell him, I know you want to do that, but you can't, right? And so fate has bigger demands and prevents, I think, Aeneas from doing the things that we might expect him to do in that moment,
or even want him to do for the sake of drama, as interested observers.
Yeah. And so he's constantly being pulled away from this. But I think here too, there's also this really interesting layers that I think in Venus, if we look at the Iliad and those scenes with Aphrodite and Paris and Helen, Venus has so much of her own reputation invested with Helen.
Right.
And maybe in some ways she's saying, no, look over here. I'm going to show you. It's really the gods that are destroying the city. It's not Helen. Maybe Venus is almost saving some face by allowing Helen to live because she's invested so much of her own reputation in that. I don't know, but I think it's one of the layers that's kind of thrown in here.
That's very suggestive. Reminds me of another song that you'll hate.
Yeah.
Dreams in the Mist.
I don't know this song.
I think it's hard. These dreams go on.
Oh, these dreams, yes.
These dreams.
Yes, yeah.
Go on when I close my eyes. How does the rest of that lyric go? Every second I'm awake.
I don't know. I usually change the station as soon as I hear the first two bars.
I walk without a scratch through a stained glass wall.
That's a terrible line. Is that really in that song?
Yeah. I was going to say that's the best line. Could it be cloak and dagger? Could it be spring and fall? That's what it is.
Oh,
I walk without a touch through a stained glass wall.
Wow, you know that song really well. I couldn't give this.
Because I never change when it comes on.
Right.
So that's who Aeneas is, right? He's in a dream state.
Yes. Yeah. I think that's a good metaphor here. He's kind of floating through everything, right? He doesn't seem to be. I mean, he's in the midst of all this fighting. Virgil never once, I don't think, says that he gets nicked by an arrow or
no.
Right?
He's protected by the goddess,
of course, right? She's watching everything, but that just makes him just even more removed and aloof from all of this stuff, right? Yep.
So we're moving on then, right?
Yep.
He doesn't kill Helen because Venus says, "Don't do it.
Don't do it," and then she's gone. And as we know, Helen is ultimately taken back by Menelaus, and they make their way back to Sparta. And
or Egypt, according to Stesichorus.
Right.
The alternative ending, but
they get blown off course and lost for a while. Right.
We're not interested in that.
No, and neither is Virgil. So Aeneas says, "Okay, we're going to get out of here." But the good man, family man that he is, he rushes back to his house.
Right. And who's waiting for him there?
Well, he's his father, aged Anchises, his wife Creusa, and Ascanius / Iulus is waiting there, his little boy.
Right.
And so he's got to gather them all up and get them out of here. And here's where we get that emblematic scene of Roman piety, where he takes up his father on his shoulders, and his father grabs the penates, the household gods, and he grabs his little boy by the hand, and they run for it.
And this is the Barocci painting.
Yes,
the very famous Barocci painting where Creusa is separated from the group.
Yeah.
some social distancing by just a little bit. And I was reminded also when reviewing my notes for this, that there's a Bernini group in the Borghese Galleria.
Yes.
Yeah, one of 4 in that amazing place.
Yes, and
of this very scene.
Bernini, in my opinion, the ultimate sculpture master of all time.
I find him a little too precious.
Do you really?
Yeah, I like the masculine sensibility of Michelangelo. Just the hulking nature of some of his portrayals.
I see.
But still, I am a great admirer of Bernini.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We can explore that
in
later.
a gurgle, maybe?
In a gurgle, yeah.
All right.
And I wonder. I was curious what you made of this. So Creusa follows at a distance, kind of lagging behind, and Virgil seems to be making a point of that.
Yes.
And so Aeneas has one arm, for his father, another hand for his son. Why do you think he has Creusa kind of follow? He kind of telegraphs the disappearance and the loss of Creusa so obviously. But I'm wondering, what did you make of that detail?
Okay, so have you been to the beach lately? Well, you went to the pool with your family.
I went
recently.
to the beach on Memorial Day, so yeah.
Oh, and you went to the beach too?
Did. Yep.
So did you take sandwiches and foldable chairs and volleyballs and all that sort of thing?
We
cooler?
We did.
Did you just, if I can ask,
yes.
and maybe this would reveal my chauvinism, I don't know.
Yeah.
Tried to keep it concealed for 86 episodes. Did you lug all of the heavy items yourself, or were they equally distributed between you and Mrs. Winkle?
I took the massive cooler.
Okay.
And most of the rest of the stuff was distributed amongst my boys.
Okay, so you were carrying a lot of heavy stuff.
Yes.
Was Mrs. Winkle walking right next to you as you carried all that heavy stuff?
She was.
She didn't have to observe a little bit of a distance to be outside of kind of the drop zone?
No, there was no need.
Not even for the sake of my argument?
But I've seen what you're describing.
Right.
Yes, that's a common scene.
Yes.
Okay.
You got something on your shoulder. You've got the chair slung over your shoulder. You've got the baseball bat in one hand, the cooler. You're leading the dog by the... maybe this is ridiculous, but... Maybe it's just because if you're carrying an old man on one shoulder and you're fully armed and you're leading your son by the hand, is the other person going to be able to walk very close?
I don't know. I mean, I was thinking that it was loaded with something bigger, right?
You should be impressed by how unpoetic and unimaginative my explanation is. Because it's a pretty awful explanation.
Well, I mean, I think that in some ways, because going right for the poetic and the metaphorical in some ways can lead you to something ridiculous.
Yes, that's true.
So sometimes applying Occam's razor and just saying, okay, what's the simplest explanation is the best one, right?
Right.
But this one, it struck me. It reminded me so much of Orpheus and Eurydice.
Yeah.
And I think at least at some level, Virgil wants us to make that kind of connection and said, we know this story. The guy's leading us out of hell, and
the burning ruins of Troy. In other words,
yes, and the woman is falling behind. Who's going to be the victim of the sight taboo or whatever.
Yes, of course, the sight taboo.
Like Lot's wife, Orpheus Eurydice.
The taboo is the taboo associated with the particular sight.
Turning around, looking where you're not supposed to look leads to the tragedy.
So sight as in one's gaze.
Yes. SIGHT.
Yeah. See, this is a problem with English.
Yeah, it is.
SIGHT, SITE, CITE. It goes on and on.
Yeah, it's a mess.
Homophones.
Yeah.
I think you're right because, of course, Virgil covered this episode at great length in Book 4 of his Georgics. You remember that?
Yeah. Right.
So you could say even that the entire poem, those 4 books, are leading up to that story of Eurydice's eventual death.
Yes. All right. So I think that making that connection here is we're on good footing.
I think so.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it also struck me too as just in terms of the culture and the times, a kind of expected female deference to the men, and maybe in some ways to could explain it.
Sure. Well, we've talked about the notion of filial piety. Right, pietas generally and filial piety, it goes to your father and to your son.
Right.
So in a real sense, in a Roman family, although I'm sure that the actual personal dynamic was richer than this, the official word was, the woman is not really integral to the enterprise.
Yeah,
she's there to have children and take care of others. She doesn't have an identity of her own.
Right. Yeah, no, exactly. But at the same time, when Aeneas discovers that she's missing, he goes running back into the flames.
Yes, and I don't think it's just out of a sense of duty.
No.
I think it's out of a sense of real love.
Yes, I do too. So Aeneas is gathering. He takes his son, he takes his father to this cypress tree outside the city, where he starts to notice that he's not the only one.
Right.
And
it's the meetup place.
It is the meetup place, right? So, and there's an abandoned temple of Ceres out there. Again, a detail which puzzled me, but I don't want to go down all of these rabbit trails.
There's like a Starbucks billboard that's fallen apart halfway.
Exactly right. Yeah, an advertisement for Walter Mondale's campaign, right?
That takes me back to 1984.
84.
Geraldine Ferraro.
That's right.
Was the running mate.
And got trounced.
Yes, I think.
49 states to 1.
Wow, that's incredible.
I think Mondale won his home state of Minnesota.
That's incredible.
Right.
So those kinds of broken down things, but they are the rendezvous point, the meetup point.
Yes.
Did you have one of these when you went to the beach? In case you got separated?
No, we didn't. It wasn't that much of an expanse of territory. But, yeah. But back in high school, we there was a place. Hey, let's meet up at the
the water tower.
At the water tower. Exactly right.
This was the day before cell phones.
Yes.
So that has changed everything. Imagine if Aeneas and company, what kind of texts would Creusa have sent?
Yes,
Aeneas, right?
Yeah.
BRB, right?
Yeah.
That kind of thing. Yeah. And this probably never would have happened.
Exactly.
This separation.
Right. Have you seen that? I can't remember if we talked about it, but there was an article that came out that if the characters in Seinfeld had cell phones, it would have solved every plot problem in almost every episode.
3/4 of the plots are just done.
They're just gone. Right.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So they meet out there, and Aeneas starts to notice that they're not alone. And little by little, there are these refugees from the city trickling in, and he starts to gather the group, the core group, which is going to be the people that get on the ships and go off to find this new destiny.
Mm-hmm. Is it a kind of a montage A-team sort of moment?
Yeah, kind of an arming scene.
Right,
exactly. I remember when they the A-team, they'd always they'd revamp the van.
Correct.
Right.
Turn it into a tank.
Exactly.
Even though it was a tank at the end of the previous episode. But it's different, though, because all of this is tinged with not optimism, but still a kind of wretched despair.
Yeah, exactly. And a kind of PTSD.
That's right. It's hard to get excited about a montage when there's so much suffering.
Right. Yeah, usually montages are there to kind of pump you up, right?
Exactly.
Rocky's getting into shape.
That's right.
Right. Punching the big slabs of meat.
You probably don't like any songs by Survivor.
Oh, in a kind of nostalgic kind of way. I don't think they're great songs, but I like them. Right, exactly.
All right.
I mean, you can't not like Eye of the Tiger to some degree, right?
I like it. I just don't try not to like it like you do.
Right. Can I tell you a funny story about the Eye of the guy who sang Eye of the Tiger?
Sure.
So his name's Dave Bickler, who's the original singer for Survivor. And I have a good friend, a former roommate of mine in Chicago, who writes television and radio jingles. And he's a fantastic musician. And they were doing this... They were doing this actually a Super Bowl spot,
of course,
called "Real Men of Genius." I think it was like from Budweiser or something like that, and it was very sarcastic and very, very funny. And they brought in Dave Bickler to sing the tagline. And my friend Sam said to him, he says, "What we're looking for in this, we want something kind of really kind of hammy and over the top in like 1980s."
Right.
And Dave's immediate response, he goes, "Oh, that comes very naturally to me." Isn't that great?
That's good. That comes very naturally.
It does, yeah.
That's wonderful.
So Creusa is missing. Aeneas notices in the midst of all of this, and I think to his great credit, I mean, here we see I think Aeneas, the action hero, right? He goes back into the city only to remember he encountered Hector's ghost earlier.
That's correct.
And now he encounters the ghost of his own wife, and it's too late. She's lost.
There has to be communication with the dead.
Yeah.
In an epic.
Yes.
There has to be communication with the dead, because otherwise, how are you going to know anything about destiny?
Right.
There's just too much information that the hero needs to know in the context of an epic that he can't get from his immediate surroundings.
Yeah.
So the dead have to tell him things.
Yes, and it happens a lot in these first few books.
As we know from our 2 episodes, A Pain in the Nequia.
Oh, way back, Odyssey 11.
That's right, episodes 1 and 2. That was Odysseus' whole purpose in going to the underworld is, I need information.
Right. Yeah, he goes and gets the essential information from Tiresias, which Circe tells him, but then he gets a whole lot more.
Right, because he's so curious. He wants to visit Agamemnon and Achilles and all the famous women and all the crimes and so forth.
Yeah.
But Aeneas, it's a little more convenient for him, although he will have his Catabasis Book 6.
Yes.
Which will reach in 2026, probably.
Exactly.
Here, the ghosts appear to him and they volunteer information.
Right.
Which is a nice touch.
It is a nice touch. Although, I wanted to get your opinion on this. Books 2, and then also in book 3 too, it is heavy on the prophecy. I mean, everybody's prophesying, and there's constant. Anchises is pouring libations, saying prayers. Aeneas is. I mean, it's so heavy on the kind of the religious correctness, and I gotta be honest, it got a little old for me.
Okay.
And I'm just kind of wondering, why does Virgil? I mean, this is where he's very unlike Homer. We don't see a lot of Odysseus making sacrifices at altars. It happens.
Yeah, but the description of the preparation and the execution is relatively brief.
It is very brief. It's more often kind of Athena pursuing Odysseus than the other way around. But here it is. Virgil wants us to know that Anchises and Aeneas, they, despite their circumstances, they are keeping the letter of these laws and these rites. And
it's pietas.
Is that all that it is?
You're just not a Roman, Jeff.
I know that.
You're an early 21st century post-pop culture kid.
Maybe. It just seemed to kind of, I think, like, especially in book 3, compared to, book 1 and book 2, this is the concert openers with "You Give Love a Bad Name" and "Living on a Prayer." Boom, right? And then book 3 comes along, and it takes a dip.
Okay.
Now it might take a necessary dip in terms of like, okay, you can't have just rocking out the whole time.
No dip. Book 3 takes no dip.
It does.
You're saying that book 3 is the 4th song on the first side of the album.
Yes, exactly. That's right. Not necessarily a bad song. It could be just kind of the necessary pause before you crank it up to 11 again.
I got it.
Right? You can't go full speed all the way through. You'll get exhausted.
I really like 3.
What did you like about it?
I like all of the allusions and references to the Homeric and the Homeric stories and Jason and the Argonauts. Mm-hmm. I really like that. I like the encounter on Cyclops Island. I like the fact that we're leading up to the death of Anchises, which is revealed in that book.
Yeah.
Those things are appealing to me.
Okay. All right. Well, we can discuss it further when
it's the instrumental bridge.
It is. I think it's necessary. It just, I think it kind of has a little bit of the Blaze of Glory problem.
Okay.
Is that, the
BOGP?
Well, is a Blaze of Glory is referencing Wandered Dead or Alive. In successful or unsuccessful ways, and depending on how you see it, those kind of tags to the Homeric, it's almost like bringing back these characters. It's kind of an applause line. It's fan service. Look, there's the Cyclops. Look, and there's one of the guys from Odysseus' crew that got left behind, but
isn't this like the cameo in every sitcom and every movie?
Yeah.
For example, the Marvel movies.
Yeah.
All of them until he passed away. Stan Lee has some bit role in all of them.
It did. And
the fans love that.
I know, but for me personally, as that went on, and I enjoyed them less and less and less.
Okay.
When it comes to cameos, I like the Hitchcock approach. You're on screen for 2 seconds, and if you get it, you get it. If you miss it, you miss it. And it's gone.
So book 3 is like that for you?
It is kind of like that for me, right? So
total sidebar.
Yeah.
I met a person last week whose first name was Cameo.
Did you really?
Yeah, a woman named Cameo. Isn't that interesting?
That is interesting. I've never heard that.
I haven't either. Now you have.
This episode is full of new names.
Yes.
Johannette and
Cameo.
Wow.
Very interesting.
All right, so I think we're getting a little ahead of ourselves here.
Mm-hmm.
So Creusa comes to him and again tells him, "Hey, you got to get out of here. You have bigger fish to fry."
Right.
As they say.
Can I read this little bit from Lombardo about the address of Creusa to her husband?
Yeah.
"What good does it do, my sweet husband, to indulge in such mad grief?" So she's appearing to him in a dream, remember? Well, in a vision as a ghost.
Yeah.
"These things do not happen without the will of the gods. You may not take your Creusa with you. The Lord of Olympus does not allow it. Long exile is yours, plowing a vast stretch of sea. Then you will come to Hesperia, where the Lydian Tiber runs gently through fertile fields." You see, she's giving information.
Yep.
Right? She's the Google Maps.
Yes.
"There, happy times, kingship, and a royal wife shall be yours. Dry your tears for your beloved Creusa. I shall not look upon the proud domains of the Myrmidons or Dolopians, nor go to be a slave for Greek matrons. I, a Trojan woman, and wife of the son of the goddess Venus. No, the great mother keeps me on these shores. Farewell, and keep well your love for our child."
So apparently, when you die, you immediately are imbued with all of this knowledge of past, present, and future.
Well, it could be like in Platonic terms, you get a glimpse of everything.
Yeah.
Right? Your soul gets a glimpse of everything. You don't have really deep knowledge, but it's broad.
That's interesting. You compare that with Achilles in Odyssey 11. The only thing that Achilles wants to know is what's happening in the real world.
Yes.
Right? He doesn't know.
What about my son? What about my father?
Yep. That's all he wants to know. But so it seems like for Achilles, the worst thing about being in the underworld is that his knowledge is limited.
Ignorance.
And here
right.
Creusa has been dead for 2 seconds, and she's spitting out prophecies like Cassandra.
Well, it could be that nice reference.
Yeah.
It could be that there's a difference in the mortal psychology of the two authors, no doubt. But it could also just be explained by the fact that Achilles is in his final resting place there, and the knowledge that you have, it starts to dissipate when your soul is consigned to its final spot.
Okay.
So she has this knowledge now,
Yeah.
but pretty soon she's going to be sent somewhere, and then that's
It's
it.
going to be gone.
You're going to be closed off.
You got this brief liminal window.
That's right.
Okay.
Liminal window. And speaking of liminal windows, it's time for the ads.
It is.
This episode of Ad Nauseam is brought to you by Ratio Coffee. Jeff, how are you doing with the new Ratio 8?
It's great. I love it. The hand blown borosilicate.
That's right.
Carafe. It's beautiful.
When you headed to the beach the other day,
Yeah.
did you tank up on some coffee before you headed out the door?
We had the coffee at home.
Okay.
I mean that carafe is not something that you take out of the house.
No.
It's something that's featured.
Right.
Exactly.
But you keep it there not because it's not durable.
Right. Oh no.
No,
Right.
no. You keep it there because you want it to be in a place of honor.
Of course, it's beautiful. Even
Yes.
my wife the other day just said, "I love how this thing pours."
Yes.
There's just I tend not to think about that kind of stuff.
No.
Yeah, pouring is pouring.
Right.
It's not. And so no, I love the 8. It's such an elegant machine. I in some ways I don't feel good enough for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To make a reference to a previous episode, would you say it's like the Millennium Falcon of coffee makers?
It is definitely right. It made the Kessel run in less than 5 parsecs, I believe.
So tell me something about the process in case people haven't listened to the previous 80 episodes.
All right, so it's easy. You fill the tank.
Okay.
You get your cone. You put your grounds in there.
And then you put that little lid on the top?
Yes, you do. And then it's one touch. You hit the button.
So you have to press a series of 6 or 7 buttons. You have to decide between different kinds of brews and different times, and you have to crank it up to get it going. And
Not at all. It's one button.
one button?
Right. It's not. You don't have like the dial, the flip switch, nothing. It's just one button.
One button.
And then it takes you through the 3 stages.
Okay.
You got the
What's
bloom.
the first stage?
You got the bloom.
Okay.
And that's where all of the CO2 is off gassed, and you don't have to deal with it at all.
Should we say bloom with a brew?
It's been a few weeks since we dropped that one.
Yeah.
I
I particularly liked that one.
Yeah, the bloom with the brew. The bloom is followed by the brew stage.
Yes.
Where you get the scalding hot water poured over the ground.
Down through the metallic veins.
Yes.
It goes, I think, from 0 to 200 degrees Fahrenheit, like an old bicycle I had, in just a matter of 20 seconds.
It's quick.
You've got to have really hot water to make really good coffee.
It's true. It's true. And then it drips into your carafe.
Right.
And
But you
then-
have to stay there and watch it, right?
You don't have to stay there and watch it. You can listen to it from the next room.
But you
or-
might want to watch
You
it.
might want to watch it because it's just a beautiful thing to behold.
Right.
And then it's ready. It blinks 3 times and you're set. That's all there is to it.
That's incredible.
And every morning, just the perfect cup of coffee.
Yeah, with your stainless steel and your walnut accents.
Yes.
The thing of beauty.
It is a thing of beauty. And it's got a heft when you
Lots of
have to
heft.
move it.
It's a
Yep.
hulking flagon.
Yep.
So if one of our listeners don't already own the Ratio 6 or the Ratio 8, you spent some time with the 6 also.
Another great machine.
You can attest to it.
Yeah.
What should they do?
They should go to ratiocoffee.com. That's RATIO. And they can pick the 8 or the 6. And if they type in the coupon code ANCO89,
Yep.
code which is good until the end of June, they will get, what is it?
15% off.
15% off.
That's right.
Either machine.
Check it out.
Don't wait. This episode also brought to you by Hackett Publishing. Hackett Publishing, with offices in Indianapolis and in Cambridge, Massachusetts. They've been in business for, I believe this is their 50th year.
Absolutely.
Yep, we love their stuff. I've got a number of their books on my shelf that I've used for personal reading and in my classes. Just great translations from all over the different areas of academia, especially in the classics. The Lombardo translation that we've been using a lot in these recent episodes is in the mix there.
It's non-Perel.
Yes, and they have LPSI.
That's right.
Dave's favorite Latin textbook you can get from Hackett.
And I'm just, if I may interrupt here?
No, please go ahead.
Okay, so I'm just looking at the website a little bit, and we have The Western Literary Tradition, A History of the Samurai, a source book, Your sons are fascinated by that, right?
They would love that. Yeah.
Yes. So why don't you buy it for them, you big
should.
cheapskate? 7 Myths of Military History, Classics in Western Philosophy of Art, The Essential Greek Historians, just incredible things. Plato's Laws, New Translation, The Hidden Berlin, you name it.
You name it. Yeah. So, listeners, if you go to hackettpublishing.com, that's HACKETT publishing.com, check out their immense catalog. It's not going to be difficult for you to find stuff that you're going to want to read. Click on what you want, and if you drop in the coupon code AN2022, that'll get you 20% off any order and free shipping.
Which is incredible.
Yeah.
I don't know anybody who gives a 20% coupon and free shipping.
No, you can't get that at Nile.com or
Nile.com.
Mississippi.com.
Oh, I get your drift.
Yeah, exactly.
I get your delta.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. You're not going to get that there. So.
Definitely not.
No.
And you'd be supporting this podcast. Now, we're not going to beg and plead. Are we going to beg and plead?
We're not there yet.
No. Okay. But you got to check it out because, this company is supporting this entertainment for your value. I hope you're getting something out of it. This would be a nice way to show some support.
Yes, please do.
This episode also brought to you by PopCityPopcorn.com. Jeff, we're popcorn people, aren't we?
I'm a popcorn person.
Yeah.
And I know you are too.
I am. So what is it that you like about this inflated grain?
Well, I've loved popcorn since I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
But up until very recently, I was just a, straight popcorn, salt, maybe a little butter, and that's it.
Dyed in the bowl kind of guy.
Right, and I thought that was kind of I was a purist, right?
Right.
And I kind of sneered at those who needed more
The froofy?
the froofy stuff.
Yeah.
Right? But this company has changed my mind.
Okay.
Right.
And how did they do that?
For me, it was the Parmesan cheese one.
No.
Yes.
Really?
I thought I'm not going to like this because I've had the Bloritos, Flacho Flanch flavor, and it makes me nauseous.
So give us the backstory. What's the book 3 of your journey to delight in Pop City Popcorn?
Well, they sent us that wonderful box with a bunch of different samples in it, and I thought, okay, I like popcorn. And I'm going to grudgingly try some of these new flavors because it wasn't my thing.
Yeah.
And I tried the Parmesan cheese.
So when I told you about this new sponsor, you just kind of smiled politely, thinking, "Oh, okay, all right."
No, I was into it because I love popcorn.
Okay.
I thought I'm probably only going to like just their basic level.
Right.
Right. But it tasted so real, and I recognize that all that other stuff that I've tried that I didn't like, it was some kind of chemical.
Yes.
Chemical fake cheese that they put on there.
Right.
And when I tasted this, that is the real deal.
Yeah.
I thought, okay, I can do this.
Right.
And then I tried many of their other ones. I thought, yeah, the same thing. You can tell that the ingredients are quality ingredients.
Yep.
And it makes for a great popcorn fibery experience.
Everything is top shelf.
It is top shelf.
I love the bacon cheddar. I
Yeah.
love the movie theater popcorn. The butter rum caramel, that was a really delicious popcorn. You can actually taste the rum on the popcorn.
Yeah.
All natural ingredients. They use the highest quality. And I think last time, Jeff, you probably didn't catch this, I said it was our first Michigan-based sponsor.
Yeah.
Not true. We had another one.
Oh, we did.
Yeah, we won't mention them.
Oh, yeah. I'm remembering
Right.
now. I do. Yeah.
Nevertheless, they are a Michigan sponsor down in Kalamazoo, servicing
Kazoo, yep.
Yes, servicing the Western Michigan University football team with all of their great popcorn and the entire stadium.
Fantastic. Yeah. My boys loved the kind of the sweeter.
Right.
They love the two-way drizzle with
The rainbow.
the caramel and the chocolate. So, yeah, whatever you're into, you're going to find something that you're going to like.
So if you'd like to try out this great popcorn, you want to live the AN life, as we say, with
Yeah.
the drinking the fine coffee, the reading the great books, and then using a napkin, and then eating the wonderful popcorn.
Yes.
You want to go to popcitypopcorn.com, and you want to enter this coupon code, ANPOP20. That's ANPOP20. Now, you may not want to associate ad nauseum and popcorn, but trust us, this works.
This works.
And you will get 20% off if you are a first-time customer.
Yes. So if you're a skeptic like I was, if you consider yourself a kind of a popcorn purist, you should try this.
Absolutely.
Because it will change your life. All right, Dave. So as we get back into this, we are. I just want to note for the audience, we actually finished book 2.
Nice.
Or we're into book 3. So we might be able to keep some of those promises we made at the top of the show.
Crazy promises.
Yep. All right. So in this book, Aeneas is he boards the ships with this last remnant of Troy,
The good ship lollipop.
and they're following this prophecy, right?
Yes.
But this prophecy that they have heard, at least Aeneas has heard at least a couple of times now, and he's going to hear multiple times in this particular book, but they keep bouncing from place to place, not really knowing where they're supposed to land.
The general direction is go west, young man.
Yep. So remember, Creusa, just before the break, Creusa says Hesperia, the west, right? But she also mentions the where the Lydian Tiber runs gently through fertile fields, right? But I'm assuming that Aeneas has no idea what the Tiber is.
Right.
This is completely unknown lands to him.
Right.
But piece by piece, and I think now that I'm thinking about book 3, I think one of the things that I like, I was telling you I was kind of irritated by the repetition of this stuff. Prophecy after prophecy, sacrifice after sacrifice, but each prophecy adds a little bit more information, right? So it's stringing together, it's building a bigger picture that's pushing Aeneas on.
The initial wanderings, the prophecies,
yes,
and the omens.
And the omens, yeah.
So I had a great pun back there, but I didn't want to interrupt you, and now I fear it's too late.
Can you tell us anyway, or is this going to lose its punch?
Probably, but that would make it like all my other puns. And that is that you were saying Aeneas has no idea where the Tiber is, right?
Yeah.
He just knows it's out there. He can't even glimpse it. He doesn't have the eye of the Tiber.
Oh, man. That's nice because you're tying
it callback. It's a Survivor.
It's not just a pun. It's a callback.
It's not nice. It stinks. But I did it, and I'm not gonna apologize for it.
Man, I think you may have just given us the title for this episode. Right? Eye of the Tiber. That's brilliant. That's gold, Jerry. All right. So they don't sail very far, right? So if
they go to Thrace, right?
So if an audience can imagine a map, so Troy is in the kind of the northwest corner of what we would call Turkey today.
That's right.
Near the Dardanelles. The Bosporus.
And they sail off to the west. In a kind of a crescent-y way to the northwest.
And so Thrace is like Yugoslavia-ish area, right? Yeah. It's not far.
Right.
And so they stop. And
it's famously wild territory.
Right. So in Greek traditions, Thrace is associated with Ares.
Yeah. Home of the nomads, men on horseback, living a wild, savage kind of existence from the Greek perspective.
Right. Exactly. And this is where Heracles has to go get the flesh-eating horses of
Diomedes.
Diomedes,
the
right.
mares of Diomedes.
Right. And so he's a king in Thrace. So it's a wild territory. But this kind of struck me as I think unintentionally funny that Aeneas leaps off the boat, and Virgil tells us that he just starts building his new city right away. And he even has a name for it, Aeneadae, which is not a very clever name.
No.
This is obviously a first draft.
The followers of Aeneas, this is what it's going to be, right? That's who they're going to be and where they're going to stay.
Right. So I thought that struck me as that Aeneas says, okay, all right, we're a little bit west. This seems to this fulfills what I was told. And he just starts kind of carving up the territory. But this takes me back to the Quint article, right? I think he wants to stay close to home, right? He wants the new Troy to be close to the old Troy.
Right.
He doesn't want to really.
He's not ready to really separate.
No, he's not ready to separate. He's not ready for kind of the sufferings that perhaps deep down he knows he's going to have to encounter.
Can I read a couple of lines from book 3 here in the Latin of their first encounter with Thrace?
Yes.
Okay. Terra procul vastis colatur ma vortia campis. There's that reference, as you were saying, right? The fields of Mars, the plains of Mars, the land that he claims.
Yes.
Thraces ardrant acri quandam regnata licurgo, hospitianti cum Troiae soci eque penates dum fortuna fuit. So we have the idea there that maybe this was the ancient place that offered kind of refuge to the penates and our allies. Maybe this is where we should go.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Like Quint was saying, is that they're looking for something familiar. They're looking for something they can build a new foundation on top of an old foundation.
Not knowing that they have to really start from scratch.
Right. And but I also and as we're talking, I'm coming around on book 3.
Okay.
But I'm liking this more and more.
I really liked your comment about much earlier in this episode that Aeneas takes the second exit.
Yeah.
Right. It's like looking for a hotel late at night when you're on a family road trip.
Yes.
If you don't plan ahead, which I never like to plan ahead because I don't want to take the spontaneity out of it. So is it going to be
even when it comes to hotels?
Well,
you want to see,
I have often regretted it.
That's how you wind up at the Bates.
Yes, I know, but the idea is let's just see how far we can drive.
Gotcha. I gotcha.
And I like that unfettered. It doesn't work well. I'll admit that it's a failure, but. Am I going to stay at the Better Western? Right?
Yeah.
The Motel 9. What's it going to be?
Right.
And you don't know. And I think that is a little bit of what Aeneas is feeling, right?
Yeah.
Because it's got to have a pool for the kids.
Yes.
Is the breakfast going to be something that is obviously phoned in, or is it going to be real?
Is it going to have the waffle maker? That's what I was.
You like the waffle
I
maker?
do like the waffle maker. Yeah.
I like the waffle maker where one of the ingredients you can add is M&Ms. You load those into your waffle, and the kids love those.
Yeah. Great way to start the day.
That's right. So that's what Aeneas is facing.
Yeah.
Where are we going to stay? And it's not just like Odysseus, where he's really only concerned about himself, right? This is, again, the funneling idea we've talked about before. Throughout the Odyssey, you start with a big group. It's funneled down to just one individual who's naked on the shore.
Yes.
That's it. Aeneas is a very different hero. He fails if he doesn't bring everyone safely into room 207, on the second floor with all their luggage and all the kids' stuffed animals and their Game Boys. It's all got to get in.
Exactly.
And the door has to close.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah. No, I think that's an excellent distinction, which separates him from Odysseus.
Not original to me, but I think it bears repeating often.
Yeah. Another interesting thing I find about book 3 is how, in many ways, how quickly fate, destiny, or whatever you want to call it, quickly shows Aeneas,
right,
this is not where you're going to stay. And in this case, Aeneas is being very religiously correct. He's going to make a sacrifice.
Yes.
He's going to thank the gods, and he goes up on this knoll, this hillock, to find some greenery for the altars. You got to garland your altars.
Yes. And this is one of the most gruesome, disturbing scenes.
It is so gross.
I can remember reading this with my kids when they were younger, and it was very shivery and spine tingling.
You read this to your children?
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
You got to read the whole thing. We read an excerpted version.
Yeah,
and we read some of the Latin here. But
wow,
you want to read a little bit of the Lombardo?
Yeah. So this is the Lombardo. Yeah. Nearby was a mound, its summit crowned with cornel shrubs and bristling myrtle. I went over to it and bent down to pull some greenery from the soil to deck the altars, when I witnessed an awful portent. The first bush that I uprooted oozed drops of black blood that clotted on the ground. A cold horror numbed my limbs, and icy fear coursed through my veins. Still, I pulled up another sapling, trying to understand the mystery within. This one bled too. Greatly troubled, I prayed to the nymphs and Father Mars, Lord of Thracian fields, to lighten this omen and turn it to good. But when I pulled with greater effort, upon a third branch, struggling on my knees in the sand, should I speak or be silent, I heard a groan from deep within the mound. So it keeps getting worse.
So this is one of the spots where Aeneas, people are saying, "Come on, Aeneas, are you very bright?
Yeah, exactly.
You're gonna keep pulling branches as blood comes out and someone's screaming from deep below."
Right. Yeah. You're kind of asking for it.
Right.
Right. And so we learn that this groan belongs to a certain Polydorus.
That's right. Line 41, if I may. Quid miserae nea laceras, iam parca sepulto. Ouch! Quid miserum. I could use stronger language here, right? Aeneas, are you rendering me, laceras? You tearing me to pieces? Leave my burial spot alone. Iam parca sepulto.
Yeah. So we learned that this was a guy that the Trojans sent as an emissary to Thrace,
right,
to ask for help.
Well, and also remember, I think that, correct me if I'm wrong, Priam sent him away with gold.
Yes.
And the idea was, if the entire kingdom falls, this was his insurance policy. If the entire kingdom falls, right, at least Polydorus will have some of the money left, and he could refound the Trojan line in another place. It's like when you go to the beach, right, and you got $30 in your pocket and some loose change, you parcel it out among the family, you give one of your kids, here's a 10, hold on to that, so if I lose mine, we can still get ice cream on the way home.
There you go.
And so Polydorus is the insurance policy, common to trade royal children, up even into the modern era, right? So the czars would send their kids to Paris to be educated,
right?
And the French would send their kids to London, and the English would send their kids to Berlin. And it's not just to learn another culture, but it's a little bit of insurance, because if you grow up in that environment, you're going to treat well those you were with. And in the worst case scenario, like in the old days, if you ever came to conflict, the children would be the first to be killed.
Right.
And that was a deterrent to open conflict.
Sure. And it also led to all kinds of intermarriage between these royal families, right? And trying to keep track of these royal family trees in Europe in the 17th and 18th century, just an incredible mess.
Right. Well, apparently the woman who celebrated her Not the Jubilee. What is it?
It was the Jubilee of her 50th year. Of,
No, it
not
wasn't
50th.
50th.
It was like
70th.
75
Platinum Jubilee.
of her reign.
If I'm not mistaken, these are individuals from German stock. These are not native.
The Windsors?
Yes, they're not native English.
I didn't know that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and well, that's exactly what we're talking about
Right.
here. Right. So Polydorus is killed, and
For the money.
and now he's buried in this mound. But yeah, it's just the idea that Aeneas, when he pulls up the small tree, he's ripping the body of this. It's so gruesome. And Polydorus basically tells him, no, this is not a friendly land. You are not going to find allies here. This is not a new home for Troy. You, like everybody else that tells him, you got to move on.
Keep on moving. At this point, Aeneas prays. He's a pious guy, and Apollo gives him a revelation, right?
Yes.
Move on, but where should they go?
Right. So they wind up on the island of Delos, right? So the sacred island of the birth of Apollo and Diana.
That's right.
And again, as we expect now, Aeneas he prays to the god,
Right.
And especially this god, a god of oracles. And Apollo's oracle again tells him, yes, you have a destiny. You're going to go to the west, but he's very vague about the particulars. And this is where his father pipes up and says, I think that what the oracle is referring to is Crete.
Yes, let's go to Crete.
Let's go to Crete. And Anchises says this because he says, well, I know there's a story that Teucer, one of our original ancestors, was from Crete. Mm-hmm. He makes, again, like Quint argues, makes some kind of linguistic connections between Mount Ida and Roman traditions and Roman ancestors. He says, I think that's clear. This is where we got to go.
Much like Heinrich Schliemann.
Yeah.
Who referred to Crete as a veritable rookery of nations.
Did he say that?
Yes,
Okay.
in German, whatever the German equivalent is.
Yeah.
Maybe he said it in English because he could speak all those languages.
Right.
A veritable rookery of nations because it's located between Egypt and Europe.
Yeah.
And so then our man, Sir Arthur Evans, went there and found that civilization. So this is an old idea that Crete is a happening place.
It is a happening place, right? And so if it is a rookery of nations, you're going to find something you can connect with there,
Correct.
Right. And so Anchises thinks, wrongly, because there seem to be these kind of personal and historical connections with Troy, that might be the next obvious place to stop.
Right.
So they go there, and once again, Aeneas leaps out of the boat, and he's making laws. He's drawing boundaries.
In response to a rumor, though, right, that Crete has been deserted.
Right.
So this is perfect. So it's a kind of a tabula rasa.
Yep. The tyrant is gone. He's away. So that's another reason. Well, okay, the gods have vacated this place for us. Right. You can I sympathize with Aeneas.
Yes.
Of not wanting to drag this out.
There's a vacancy sign, you might say.
Right. On the next off ramp or
That's
a few
correct.
off ramps down the road.
They must have a non-smoking room.
Right. And so, but when they get there, almost immediately, plague and famine. The crops are ruined. People are dying from disease. Again, fate is not very subtle about its promptings.
Right.
Yep.
So I'm going to keep carrying on this metaphor until the audience is thoroughly bored with it.
Go for it.
You get into the room and there's a bucket for your ice, but no glasses.
No glasses. Right.
What am I supposed to do with that?
Right. And then you go down the hall, and does the ice machine work? No.
No. Do you know the old trick?
What is the trick?
Well, the trick is if you are carrying soda in cans, which is something that I did as a kid.
Yeah.
You're not going to buy expensive soda in a restaurant. Of
course not.
Get it at the grocery store.
Yeah.
You can put it in the back. You're not going to like this. You can put it in the back of the toilet in the part, I don't know, it's at the bell, the tank.
You leave it floating in the tank?
In the tank.
Yeah.
Not the bowl. In the tank because that's cooled water.
Oh, okay.
And it cools them down nicely.
Wow. So you put them there in the upper deck.
Right.
You did this? I've never heard of anyone doing this.
No comment. Okay. It's a common trick. It's a common trick.
All right.
But that's what you do if, like Aeneas, you get to Crete, right?
And there's no ice machine.
You see a no vacancy sign, a non-smoking room, perfect. But when you get inside the room in 211, you find bucket, no glasses, no ice machine.
Right.
What are you going to do?
Right.
In his case, it's plague and famine.
Famine, yeah. And so once again, he turns to the gods. And then this time, if for those keeping score of kind of who's giving prophecies, the Penates seem to come alive in a vision and speak to him directly. And here again, we get a little bit more detail. Again, it's the same ideas. This is not the place. You got to move on. Your destiny's in the west. But here, the Penates say, no, your father was kind of had the right idea, but your real ancestors are from Italy. That's where you need to go.
So why couldn't they have just said that back in Thrace, or maybe when they were rendezvousing outside burning Troy at the Starbucks billboard?
Well, I think it's probably for the same reason that Athena doesn't tell Telemachus, hey, your dad's on this island. He'll be home in a few days. Just sit tight.
She draws it out.
She draws it out and sends him on this journey because she's got to make a man out of him.
It's character building.
And so I think this is kind of that classic pathon mathon. You have to suffer your way into truth.
Oh, yeah. Pathemata, mathemata. Nice.
Yep. So I think that's what's going on here. And so Aeneas has to kind of learn how to suffer, learn how to endure. He's got to learn how to lead. And he couldn't do that if he just stopped in Thrace at the Bates Motel and made the best of it.
So off they go, Thrace, Delos, Crete. They leave Crete, right?
Yep.
And next stop, Pottersville?
Oh yeah, that great old tune.
Yes.
Here, the next stop is they're in the Strophades, the Strophades.
Yeah, I think it's Strophides.
Strophides, there you go. These islands, which I think are believed to be kind of near the vicinity of Ithaca.
Okay.
They're kind of coming up around the bend of the Peloponnese.
That's right. That mulberry, and inhabited by the Harpies.
The Harpies, yep. And so here again, they're thinking about, hey, maybe here. But they quickly encounter the Harpies, and Aeneas sends his men to attack.
They're disabused of that notion.
Very quickly.
How would you describe the Harpies?
Well, they're these kind of creepy bird women.
Yes.
So they have the bodies of birds and the talons of birds, but they have the heads of women.
And the partial torso of a woman.
Yeah.
The talons, you say, right? The claws, the beaks, the wings. And they perch over entrances, right? I always envisioned them as giant pigeons.
Yeah.
And you sit down in the park to a picnic, and what do? They immediately swoop down and mess all over your picnic and grab your pizza box and rip it to shreds and spread it all over the lawn.
Well, you've been dining with some angry pigeons.
I'm not saying pigeons do this,
Yeah.
but you know how pigeons have a way of leaving their mementos in places you don't want them?
Yeah, exactly.
So imagine if the pigeon was 400 pounds, right, and had intelligence and will and design and so forth.
Yeah.
That would be awful.
It would be awful. And so, I mean, there is kind of a dangerous kind of physical threat with the Harpies, but as you, Virgil, just like as you have with Apollonius of Rhodes in the story of his version of the Jason story, they're just gross.
Yeah.
They stink.
They're oozing and foul.
Yes, and that's really that's the real kind of horror of the Harpies is they just leave their disgusting smell and remains behind.
Can you read some of the Lombardo translation of that portion, because it's really interesting?
Yeah. So this again Aeneas narrating, delivered from the sea, I first made shore in the how do we say these names again?
Strophides.
Strophides.
Think of like Cyclades and Dodecades.
Yeah, I keep seeing the syllable with the wrong emphasis.
That's all right.
Right. The Greek name given to the islands is set in the Ionian Sea, which dark Celaeno and the other Harpies made their home after they fled in fear from the tables they kept in Phineus's palace, which is a reference to Jason.
Right.
It's, no monster, no curse, no plague more grim ever raised itself from the water of Styx. These birds have maiden faces. They drop foulest excrement. Their hands are claws, and their faces are pale with hunger.
That's awful.
It's awful. It's creepy.
Messed up their ships probably too. They just could not get that off the grill, no matter how much they scrubbed.
No, you could get the wiry steel bristle brush
with the high power sprayer and the soap. It's stuck.
Nothing doing.
No.
Yep. So the Aeneas and his men try to attack, and they quickly realize they can't lay a finger on the Harpies. And then the lead Harpy, this Celaeno, perches up on a rock. And what do you know? Hey, guess what? Another prophecy. And so she tells him, yep, you got to head west. She mentions Italy like the previous prophecy.
How come normal people in the epics never have any information to share? Why does it have to be a dream, a dead person? It has to be a vision. It has to be the penates, or in this case, a monstrosity like the Harpies. Why do they have all the info?
I don't know. I find it kind of irritating. I think this is one of the things that was bugging me about book 3 is that it's repetitive. I mean, I guess every episode builds on itself, but to me it becomes less believable.
Now you said that book 3 was growing on you.
It was growing on me, but this particular thing. So why does this gross monster suddenly perch on her? Why is this monster suddenly prophetic?
It's supposed to be the incongruity.
But why?
Well, because it's shocking and it gets your attention.
You think that's what's going on here?
Instead of the person you would expect to have the knowledge, the wise, attractive older man or older woman who studied and sat somewhere and, experienced in the world. And it's the incongruity of this monstrous, foul, nasty creature being the key to success.
Okay. I can see. I think that, yeah. All right. I like that. I think there's maybe also this sense that Aeneas' destiny is so powerful that it's being screamed from all corners of the world.
Okay.
Like even a creature like the Harpies can't help but be a medium for this very powerful prophecy.
Well, I think of it kind of like Saul going to the Witch of Endor, right? That's not where you're supposed to get your information.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
But it's incongruous.
It is incongruous.
The great king has to ask an anonymous witch for some kind of information.
Right. Okay. But there is a fitting coda to the prophecy because she ends it with a curse.
Okay.
She says, "Okay, listen, I'm affirming your destiny," but she says, "However, because you attacked us, you will not be able to build the walls of your new city until your hunger drives you to eat your own tables."
Eat your own tables. That's the curse.
So now we have this riddle. What on earth does that mean?
Right.
Right.
And it's not going to be fulfilled for several books. I think it's book 7 where the fulfillment comes.
Where they do eat their tables, right? So some sort of like Panera bread bowl.
I think so. Or do you know Perkins?
I don't know Perkins.
There used to be a Perkins in Grand Rapids, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh yeah, Perkins. Yeah.
Perkins was famous for the bread bowl.
Right, so you not only eat the broccoli cheese,
Right,
but
the soup.
You eat the bowl itself.
I would just say you better eat the soup before you eat the bowl.
Yeah, that's smart move.
That would be the order you want to follow.
Right.
Or you remember that Subway?
The Flatizza.
The Flatizza.
Right, it's like eating a table.
That's right.
It has the same consistency and flavor.
Yeah, appetizing?
No, not at
Well,
all.
they won't be a sponsor. Let's face it.
Right. Hey, we got to wrap this up, man.
We do, but do we want to tease the audience for next week?
Yeah, what's coming up?
Well, next week is going to be the Cyclops.
So we're going back to the Odyssey. Didn't we cover this already?
No. That was a popular episode. It's all fun and games till someone gets poked in the eye.
Yeah.
Long about 32, I think, 33, somewhere in there.
Okay.
Yeah. And so
we're talking about Aeneas has his own encounter with the Cyclops.
he does, because he's following about 2 weeks behind Odysseus. It's brilliant. And to set it up, can I read the Latin and then you read the translation?
Yeah.
All
Let's
right.
do it.
Ter scapuli clamarin ter kawa saxa dedera. Ter spumeli set rorantia vidimus astra. Interea fessos ventus cum sola reliquit. Now it's going to get creepy. Ignarri queviaci clopad labimur ordris.
Very nice. And this is the translation I'm about to read is not Lombardo, but it is yours, right?
Yeah, it's a little more than self-serving. Let's be honest. I translated this 15 years ago.
All right. Let's hear it.
But if you read it, you got to make fun of me a little bit. Take me down a few notches.
Okay. All right. I'll see it. I don't know if there's anything funny in here, but
All
we'll see
right.
it. 3 times the rocks from Hollow Cove echoed back their shout. 3 times the spray recedes as dripping stars shone out. While wind went slack and sun set down, exhausted at our oars, heedless of the deadly path, we glide to Cyclops' shores. There's some nice iambics in there.
Thanks.
Yes.
I like the Cyclops Shores part, I'll be honest.
Yes. That's great.
Yeah.
But that's for next time.
That's for next week. Let's hope the audience feels an adequate sense of suspense.
Yeah.
Is Aeneas going to be eaten alive by Polyphemus the Cyclops, or does he escape?
We'll have to find out next time.
To wait till next time.
Tune in. All right, so we got some people to thank.
Yes.
We have a parting shot to read. We have some emails and stuff. But before we do that, Dave, tell us a little bit about the Moss method.
I'll be very brief. If you want to learn how to read Greek, classical, Attic, Homeric, Ionic like Herodotus, you need to go to mossmethod.com, check out my free offerings, and then you could sign up for the course. It's $325, featuring in Module 1, 40 video lessons and 40 assignments and 6 quizzes and 2 exams. Let's face it, there's no reason for you not to learn Greek. It's a good value, and I know, Jeff, that you like the office hours. You've threatened to photobomb them several times.
Yeah. One of these days, I'm gonna pop in there. I'm gonna take over and just ruin it for everyone.
No, that would be great. You're gonna be the harpy in the office hours.
Yes, exactly right. Yes. But yeah,
your foul excrement everywhere.
Check this out. It'll take you from neophyte to erudite.
We also need to thank Mishka Fernando, who is young woman who puts together all of this so nicely, our sound engineer. Thank you, Mishka, for doing great work.
Yes, we also thanks going out to Scott Van Zen and Ken Tamplin for the great music that you hear at the beginning, at the end, throughout the episode.
And if you're interested in Bon Jovi, whom we have been talking about a bit, you can check out one of Ken's vocal reactions to the Bon Jovi Then and Now. If you like that kind of stuff, it's pretty interesting.
It is pretty interesting, but with Bon Jovi, the now is pretty depressing. So I'm just warning you.
Maybe he'll be a guest sometime on the podcast.
John?
Yeah, come on.
That guy can't even speak anymore.
You got to aim high.
All right. Yeah, and if you want to shout out, if you want to let us know what you like, what you don't like, an idea for an episode, we'd love that kind of stuff.
We had a lot of international shout outs recently.
Yeah.
We had New Zealand, Tasmania,
Australia,
Scotland.
Yes.
Right.
So
fantastic.
How about some hometown folks?
Right.
Here, right. We welcome it all. So don't hesitate to write to us. Write to Dave at dave@adnauseam.com. Don't forget the V.
Or Jeff at adnauseam.com. Don't forget the V in Navseam.
Check out the website, adnauseam.com.
You can pick up a t-shirt with a great Erasmian slogan, Quae nocent docent.
Yes. Check it out. And as always, let us know what you're thinking, what you like, what you don't like. And we'd love to get to know you. All right, so next week, as we already teased, more of book 3.
That's right.
And some really interesting Odyssean tags coming up.
You're not going to want to miss that.
No, and Dave, you have our parting shot today.
Yes, this is from A.A. Freda, from a novel called Goodbye, Rudy Kazudi. And I like this. It's, fits, we were talking about ethnic profiling last time with the Greeks.
Yes.
I guess this is more of the same, but hey, I didn't write this stuff. I just think it's interesting.
Yep.
3 Italians sitting around a kitchen table without food or drink is a sure sign of trouble.
Agreed.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening.